Morrissey always had an anti-drugs policy in the Smiths. I mean, you know, he was a guy that was telling the world he was celibate, that he didn't drink much, if at all, and he certainly didn't take any drugs. And he wanted to get away from that cliched notion of what rock groups were all about. And on the other hand, there were certain elements within the Smiths that kind of liked that aspect of rock culture, if you will. And, you know, and of course, yeah, and it's well publicised, Andy Rourke had his heroin habit, and that flew in the face of everything that Morrissey represented.
I don't know, I mean, I think everybody kind of had enough with it. And you know, me included. But I don't really want to go. Okay. I don't want to delve too far into it now. It's too painful.
The solution was to sack Andy Rourke. His replacement was Craig Gannon.
I was not a fan before I joined the band, but I knew sort of what we were about. So it was surprisingly easy, really. Everyone made me feel really welcome. Everyone was really nice to me. Just made me feel at home, so just had a few rehearsals, me and Johnny mainly. Just learning the guitar parts. Just took it easy and didn't really think about it. Just got on with it, really.
When Andy Rourke was well enough to return, Gannon was kept on as a second guitarist. And for a while, the Smiths were a 5-piece band. Hang on a minute, who's that lad? It's a 6-piece band.
Burn down the disco, hang the blessed DJ.
But it wasn't to last.
I don't know, I've no idea, really. I think it's just, we just didn't like each other. We'd just be in the same room and it was just a nightmare. It was just a horrible atmosphere, really frosty. So the first thing you want to do is just walk out, really. Just little things like, I remember we were all having our dinner in some service station, and we're there eating away, and then somebody says, "Oh, we've got to go now." So everyone legs it, and I'm there still eating, you know. And what do? Everyone's gone on the bus, so I pick up my sandwich and get on the bus, and Johnny walks past me and goes, "That's disgusting." Walks to the back of the bus in a mood. And I thought, you know, that's just an excuse to be nasty, really.
Gannon became the first Smith to take legal action against Morrissey and Marr, but not the last. By 1987, the Smiths were receiving the unusual accolade of a South Bank Show documentary about their career, just as their career was about to end.
Every so often a pop singer or group springs up which is not only good of its kind, but seems to epitomise its time and place. Bob Dylan, the Beatles, and so to the Smiths. Formed in Manchester in 1982, disbanded in London a few weeks ago.
It was one of the messiest splits on record. To this day, it seems the Smiths disbanded in August 1987 because of a series of misunderstandings.
Yeah, I suppose the Smiths breakup was very sad and also a comedy of errors or a tragedy of errors, depending on your point of view.
That bizarre sequence, which, you know, if you could just go back now and just stop there and say, okay, this is where we could sort it out, you know. And Johnny went off to LA to do something.
He went on holiday, and while he was away, somebody, we don't know who, leaked something to the enemy saying that Johnny had left.
I don't know where that story came from. I don't know if it was Morrissey preempting what he thought was was someone jumping ship, which Johnny most certainly wasn't at that point. I mean, the thing that pushed Johnny into leaving was that article.
So Johnny gets back on his holidays and there's a massive piece in the enemy saying Johnny Marr's left the Smiths, and that was like the first he'd heard of it, but I think he was that pissed off about it and where it might have come from that he said, right, you know, I've had enough anyway, and yeah, I have left. So that was that.
I'd like to think it's because, in reality, whether what anybody says, it's maybe because it run its course. It had a beginning, a middle and an end.
With the Smiths, on another level, I really do think it is true. I think this is really more or less the end of the story.
But fame is a bastard, really. It is, because it just messes people up so much.
First Johnny Marr leaves, then the others try to carry on. Then Mike Joyce quits, and finally Morrissey and Andy Rourke decide to call it a day. 2 weeks later, their final album, Strange Ways, Here We Come, was released.
And I think the reason why Strange Ways Here We Come suffers is because they never played any of it live. People didn't get a chance to kind of invest in it or reciprocate the kind of songs in a kind of audience environment. So it's kind of like Strange Ways Here We Come. It's kind of sort of frozen in time in a way. It's never really been allowed to kind of like live the way that the others have done.
A lot of people feel that when we were making the last album, Strange Ways, that the band were breaking up. It wasn't true at all. The band were very happy. I was very settled with them. We were making our third album together. Everything was going great. The only thing that was really happening really in the background was that there was an American manager, Ken Friedman, who I could tell Morrissey wasn't really that sure about being involved anymore. I'm not sure he really wanted Ken. Whereas I think Johnny did want someone to come in and help take some of the pressure off of his shoulders, because I think Johnny was involved in kind of some of the day-to-day running of all the background things. So the session itself went very well. When I heard a few weeks later from Jeff Travis that Johnny had walked out and the band had split up, I just thought, it's just a little argument, you know, they just need to get away from each other for a while, and within a short period of time it'll all be settled.
It would be nearly 9 years until all four Smiths were to be in the same room again. As sole songwriters, Morrissey and Marr were entitled to all royalties from the songs they wrote together in the Smiths. But although Mike Joyce and Andy Rourke had played on all the Smiths records and played live for 5 years, they received 10% of the income for performing the songs, not 25%. Morrissey and Marr contested this, saying their fellow Smiths were always aware of the 10% agreement. This was the basis of the case which finally went to the High Court in 1996. But as the pair were waiting for the case to be heard, Andy Rourke lost heart.
Craig Gannon settled and took £44,000 and went on his merry way. Andy Rourke, I think, was either on income support after the Smiths and, you know, was having tough times, and I don't think his heart was in for a long battle, which it was obviously going to inevitably become.
When we split up, I wasn't paid for 2 years, and I was more or less destitute, and then I was dangled a carrot of 80 grand or whatever, and when you're on your arse, then that seems like a lot of money. I just got married and had a mortgage, and so I had to take it.
Did that cause any problems with Mike?
Yeah, it did for a while. I mean, when I was getting married, Mike was supposed to be my best man, and he was that kind of angry about it. He wouldn't do it. And we didn't speak for about 2 years, but now, you know, we're best buddies.
It was left to Mike Joyce to continue the fight.
I thought it was better than a reunion gig. I thought, to me, I was fascinated by the court case. I thought it was wonderful. It was highly dramatic, hugely entertaining, and absolutely riveting. To see Morrissey, and indeed Marr, in the witness box, particularly Morrissey in the witness box, was unbelievable.
There were certain things that were said that were a bit, oh, right, okay. But if that was the case, then that was the case. It's not something that really, it did affect me for a little while because I just wanted it over with. And I'm sure I can speak for everybody concerned, on both sides. You know, it's not something pleasant to have to go through. But it's, that there are, you know, certain things that are said that are upsetting for everybody. But it's such a surreal, kind of unnatural situation, because when I was banging my mum's settee at home before I got my first drum kit, wanting to be in a band, you just, in your wildest dreams, your worst nightmare, should I say, do you think that you're going to be in the High Court in London with the band members?